and welcome to Granny Dorothy Visits. Today's topic is the magic of believing. And the first reading is from Wayne Dyer's Everyday Wisdom. You see what you believe rather than believe what you see. Interesting, eh? You see what you believe rather than believe what you see. And so the second reading, I'm only going to do two today because it's a long one. So this is from a new book, The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. And this was referred to when Norman Vincent Peale, one of his readings, he did a quote actually from this book. So I looked it up and I thought it's got some really good stuff. The only problem is the font is pretty small, so I'll do my best. And it's a bit long, so hopefully you'll find it interesting and of some value to you. We hear and read much about various stages of thought, degrees of consciousness, thought concentration, the strength of our faith, all of which deals with the intensity or the degree of power we send forth. Creative force comes only when there is a completely rounded out thought, when there is a fully developed mental picture, or when the imagination can visualize the fulfillment of our ambition and see in our mind a picture of the object we desire, a house, a car, a radio, etc., just as if we already possess them. As a result of my studies of the so-called mystic teachings, the various mental sciences, and the regular Orthodox Church teachings, I am convinced that they all work in varying degrees, but only to the extent that their followers believe. So it is with prayer, whether it be a part of a church service or the purely spontaneous and personal supplication of the individual. However, I am forced to the conclusion that many people go through the lip service act of saying their prayers without the slightest belief that those prayers will be answered. Consequently, they are not answered. I am frequently reminded of the story of the old lady who, professing a belief in prayer, undertook to go shopping. The day before she prayed that, on her shopping day, the sun would shine. But upon completion of her prayer, she glanced out of the window, saw some black clouds, and instantly declared, "But I know it's going to rain." In the late fall of 1944, the Saturday Review of Literature, which doesn't go in for hocus pocus, contained an article by Thomas Sugrue. He declared that the Mind Cure movement had grown so rapidly that it was now encountered everywhere. He cited several cases in which both men and women had secured phenomenal results. One woman who at 62 had been partially crippled and whose fingers were bent with arthritis, had taken up a system of yogi breathing and had entirely recovered from her physical ailments. Mr. Sugrue declared that after her restoration to health, she was adjudged by those who saw her to be about 40. Another woman achieved excellent results under an occult system of metaphysics, and guesses as to her age were 15 years under her real age. He told also of a retired missionary who, for the past 12 years, had experimented with psychic phenomena and had obtained most startling results. We can come to only one conclusion, and that is that in all the systems, creeds, and cult works as a result of the firm beliefs of the individual. And that brings us to the magic of believing. Sigmund Freud, the famous Austrian psychoanalyst, whose works are today standard for psychiatrists, brought the world's attention to the hypothesis that there was a powerful force within us, an unilluminated part of the mind, separate from the conscious mind, that is constantly at work molding our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Others have called this division of our mental existence the soul, and some metaphysical teachers claim that it is located in the solar plexus. Others call it the superego, the inner power, the superconsciousness, the unconscious, the subconscious, and various other names. It isn't an organ or so-called physical matter such as we know the brain to be, and science hasn't located its tangible position in the human body. Nevertheless, it is there, and from the beginning of recorded time, man has known that it exists. The ancients often referred to it as the, quote, spirit. Pericles, called it the will. Others have called it the mind, an adjunct of the brain. Some have referred to it as the conscience, the creator of the still small voice within. Still, others have called it intelligence and have asserted that it is a part of the supreme intelligence to which we are all linked. Hence the name universal mind, that which embraces every living thing, all humans, as well as plant and animal life. No matter what we call it, the writer prefers the word subconscious. It is recognized as the essence of life, and the limits of its power are unknown. It never sleeps. It comes to our support in times of great trouble. It warns us of impending danger. Often it aids us to do that which seems impossible. It guides us in many ways, and when properly employed, performs so-called miracles. Objectively, it does as it is told, that is, when it is commanded or besought by the conscious mind. Subjectively, it acts primarily upon its own initiative, or appears to, although there are times when its activity appears to be the result of influences from the outside. Sir Arthur Eddington is quoted as saying, "I believe that the mind has the power to affect groups of atoms and even tamper with the odds of atomic behavior, and that even the course of the world is not predetermined by physical laws, but may be altered by the uncaused volition of human beings." When this idea is fully comprehended, it becomes breathtaking. It is more understandable in the light of the electronic or vibratory theory. Every student of the subject knows what may be accomplished by getting into direct contact with the subconscious mind. Thousands have employed it to achieve wealth, power, and fame in this world, as well as to cure physical ailments and solve countless human problems. And its power is there for you to see. The only steps you have to take are to believe in its power and to use the techniques set forth in this book, or else to devise a system of your own that will put it to work for you. The late Dana Sleeth, whose syndicated column covering the observations of a hillbilly was well known to newspaper readers 20 years ago, once told me that he considered the subconscious mind one of his greatest aids, not only in furnishing him with ideas, but in assisting him to find lost tools and other articles. Mr. Sleeth at the time was living in the hills, remote from cities and towns, alternating as a columnist and farmer. He had made an extensive study of the subject, and we often discussed it as well as exchanged letters covering our ideas. So this is what he said in the letter. And don't forget, this book was written, I should have told you at the beginning, I think in the 1930s. So the way they talk is a little different than what we're used to, and their time frame's a bit off. But I thought it was really interesting history into about the power of magic of believing. So this is what this columnist had written. "It's a wonderful thing, the subconscious mind," said Mr. Sleeth. "And for the life of me, I can't see why more people don't learn about it and its use. I don't know how many thousands of times it has helped me with my problems. Ideas for feature stories have often come to me when I was engaged in such lowly tasks as stump grubbing. And as for locating lost tools, it's a knockout. You know, nothing is ever lost, it's just misplaced. If it's right there to be found in the exact place where you left it or dropped it. I have found dozens of misplaced tools in the identical spot where my subconscious mind told me to look. This is the way it would work. Say, for example, it was a pocket knife. Mine's a good-sized one that I had misplaced or dropped. I would say, 'Pocket knife, where are you?' Then I would close my eyes for a moment, and I might gaze off into space. The answer might not always come immediately, but when it did, it would come in a flash, and I would be led right to the spot where lay the knife. It always seemed to work unfailingly, even to such things as axes, rakes, and other tools that I was constantly leaving around somewhere. You know, we newspaper people are not very methodical. I used to have a great deal of difficulty in remembering names, but I have found that if I could visualize the man or woman whose name I had temporarily forgotten and see an outline of his or her features, the color of the eyes, hair, manners of dress, etc., the subconscious would bring me the name without difficulty. I don't know where I learned this, but in trying to recall something, a certain story, or a certain fact that appeared at the moment to escape me, I would relax, elevate my head, put my right hand a couple of inches above my forehead. Sometimes I might close my eyes or gaze off into space, but this little trick always seemed to get results. Never forget, intentions, great musical compositions, poetry, fiction, and all other ideas for original accomplishments come from the subconscious. Give it the thought or the material and keep it going with a deep-rooted desire for performance, and you will get results. There is an old saying that once we start weaving, the gods will furnish the scheme, and how true that is. When you start to operate with the aid of this power, the bricks automatically fall into place as though a magical hand had touched them. Results will certainly follow in a most astounding manner. Ideas for accomplishment will pop here and they will pop there. What may appear as coincidence are not coincidences at all, but simply the working out of the pattern which you started with your own weaving. I am certain that thousands of successful men and women reach great heights and accomplish marvelous results without knowing anything about the subconscious mind, and with no knowledge that it was the power which made for accomplishments. Living here in the hills, away from people and everyday influences, I have often felt that those who live close to nature were in a much better position to utilize the subconscious than others. I believe that day will come when science will prove that the great power of the subconscious is one of the most formidable forces in shaping and controlling our lives. A passing or momentary thought flicker dies almost a borning, although it may later reveal cumulative powers. But the force that brings into play the great system of the subconscious is a sustained thought, or, as previously stated, a fixed mental picture. There are many methods for stepping up the tempo of the vibrations of conscious thought in order to bring them into action, the subconscious forces, although sometimes just a single utterance, a momentary glance accompanying a word or two, traveling from one person to another, has brought the subconscious into immediate play. So have catastrophic danger moments of great peril and times of great stress, when, alone or in the company of others, a person is suddenly confronted with the necessity for immediate action. It comes to the aid of those in the habit of making quick decisions almost instantaneously, and it comes into operation when you have cleared your conscious mind of its multitude of conflicting thoughts. Going into the silence is another way of expressing it. Perhaps the most effective method of bringing the subconscious into practical action is through the process of making mental pictures, using the imagination, perfecting an image of the thing or situation as you would have it exist in physical form. This is usually referred to as visualization. However, most of the sustained and continuing manifestations come as a result of belief. It is through this belief, with its strange power, that miracles happen and that peculiar phenomena occur, for which there appears to be no known explanation. I refer now to deep-seated belief, a firm and positive conviction that goes through every fiber of your being. When you believe it, heart and soul, as the saying goes, call it a phase of emotion, a spiritual force, a type of electrical vibration, anything you please, but that's the force that brings outstanding results, sets the law of attraction into operation, and enables sustained thought to correlate with its object. This belief changes the tempo of the mind or thought frequency, and like a huge magnet, draws the subconscious forces into play, changing your whole aura and affecting everything about you, and often people and objects at great distance. It brings into your individual sphere of life results that are sometimes startling, often results you never dreamed possible. There are countless references to it in the Bible. It is the first condition for membership in many religious, fraternal, and political organizations. Everywhere, men are looking for people who have the kind of belief they will fight for, because it is the people who are charged with the vibration of strong beliefs that sometimes do the miraculous, the things we so often say that are unbelievable. That kind of belief has the magic touch. It is also the basic principle in both white and black magic. So, I know it was a bit long and a little complex, but I thought it was really interesting. It's been around forever, all these things about how important our visualization is, how important it is, what our thoughts are, to always to picture exactly what we want in order to bring it into our realm. But what he's saying is that the secret really is the belief. You have to totally believe it in your heart, in your soul. And then you can have it, that's what they say. But you got to fine-tune that picture of exactly what you want, and to make your life better. And that's what I want for you. I want to make your life better, and I want to send you my love. Until next week, bye for now.